Today I am talking with Sariah, and we met a couple weeks ago at Dr. Brett's office when she was doing her LifeVantage presentation, a company that we're both a part of because we both found out about activation and love it. And her story is really cool because of the TBI that she's experienced a long time ago. Now, that wasn't really cool, but the fact that she's been working with Dr. Brett for over 20 years was pretty cool to me. And then finding this and hearing her story with the success that she had with the activation products, I just wanted to do a video with her so I could share like other people and be like, oh, you need to hear Soraya's story because it's really cool. So thank you, Sariah, for showing up today and recording a video with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So for the people who don't know you, would you give a little bit of a background as to maybe the TBI, how you ended up in Dr. Brett's office in the first place? Because that's a pretty good story.
Yeah. It really is actually, isn't it? So, like you said, I'm Sariah. I'm out here in Arizona, and I'm actually super excited to share my story, especially for those out there with brain injuries that have been searching for answers or looking for answers, to just help with the navigation through going through a brain injury. So I've actually had three brain injuries. Back in 1996, I was actually hit and killed by a drunk driver out here in Arizona. They brought me back to life. I did have a toe tag for a little bit, even while in the hospital for the first few days. Had some blood transfusions. I had broken bones, broken ribs, and it was like it was a hit and miss for the first few days after my accident. And I also had a head injury. I also had to learn to walk and sit again, and use the right side of my body again. So, I mean, it was pretty traumatic experience and pretty traumatic accident as well. So that was my first accident. Went through therapy with that. Retaught myself how to walk again because I ran out of insurance. So so fast forward 4 years later, I was in a second car accident where we rolled on the freeway on I-15 right outside Vegas. We rolled 5 times, going 85 miles per hour. And on that accident, I sustained a short-term memory loss for a while and just a bunch of cuts and bruises. And that one probably messed with my head the most. I think mentally, and emotionally, because I do remember that one. And so that was my second car accident. And then I was fine, fine, fine. We're using fine carefully. And I just continued with life. I was living on my own and had to still function. How I function to this day, I don't know. But I did have a dear friend that referred me to Dr. Brett Brimhall, who's a chiropractor here in Arizona. He's awesome. He's amazing. And he's literally changed my life completely, working with him. But I had a friend convince me to go see him regarding my knees. I was complaining about my knees. And so I walked into his office and he's like, okay, so what are we here? What are we looking at today? And I said, oh, yeah, no, I need you to take a look at my knees. I'm looking at maybe doing knee surgery, but my friend, told me to come see you. And, years later, he's touched my knees one time. He adjusted me one time, worked on my knees one time. And I think it's just because I couldn't tell my whole story without saying he didn't work on my knees. So, uh, so he really truly was like, and I'm okay with it. He's like, oh, sorry, there was so much more going on with you than your knees at this time. Oh, so so that's actually how I started working with Dr. Brimhall. And um and then about I never can remember when my third head injury. I had a third head injury, not car related. I fell off the doctor's table, not Dr. Brimhall's table. Need to make that clarification. And sustained my third head injury, had insomnia for a couple days, and then all of a sudden it switched, and then I slept all day, like 20 hours a day sometimes. It was awful. I had two kids by that point as well. And I mean, trying to take care of two young kids and trying to function with everyday life that you do as a mom was really, really hard. Uh, Dr. Brett and I, we were doing so many different tests and trying to help with trying to figure out what was going on within my brain and why I couldn't stay awake and why I was so tired all the time. And we just were coming up empty. Everything was coming back looking fine. Fine. I use that word very carefully, just so you know. So, in the medical world of blood work, it like things were, we weren't able to find the answers. We were, we continued to look for those answers. And then one day he introduced me to activation. He called me at 9 o'clock at night and said, "Hey, Sariah, I might have something that might help with what you're struggling with," which was later I learned it's not so much that I was tired, it was just that my brain was tired. So that's kind of how.
And this is an interesting part of the story for me too, because um, Dr. Brett is a functional chiropractor. So as I was listening to you tell all of your story, which we talked about earlier, with my applied neuro background, like hearing each of these pieces. So the knee part, like, was just so funny to me because when you have this many head injuries, like pain shows up in your body in so many other places. And the biomechanical approach is my knee hurts, so I should get a knee replacement surgery, right? But really, when people are having pain in their knee or their elbow or their wrist or their ankle or whatever, it, you want to look at everything else in the brain before it's just like, hey, this one specific area. Um, so it was fun for me to hear your story while at the same time I was like, holy cow, you've been through everything. And then when you do go through everything, like, I know how messed up the nervous system gets, right? So to see, I heard you were in real estate and then your mom, and it was like all of these pieces, and it was like, holy cow, this woman has overcome like any obstacle that somebody could possibly say, well, I can't do this and I can't do this and I can't do this. And I'm sure there was a lot of I can't do this at different phases in your journey, right? And compound fracturing my femur, like the part where it's like I can't walk and I got to reteach myself these things. Luckily, I wasn't all the way to that extent. I didn't have a toe tag, but at the same time, like, I can recognize the work that that takes, and have a lot of respect for that. And I always love the part of Dr. Brett's story. And so it was funny hearing a little bit this other side of it, right? Because you hear Dr. Brett's story and it's like he was helping a kid with autism, and the autistic kid came in and finally was calm in his office. And Dr. Brett is like, what changed? And the dad was like, oh, the wife's got him on this new supplement from her network marketing company. And, she's always been trying to sell him. And he was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so then after this change happens, he finds out that what this new product was, and she's like, you need to go to South Dakota, cancel all your patients. And he was like, cancel my patients? Like, what's my wife gonna think, right? And so
Right.
then to find out that he comes back from meeting the scientists, figuring out what these supplements actually do, because his dad was a formulator. He grew up with his dad being this famous chiropractor, and life was normal to him, but he didn't realize everybody didn't take supplements, right? So his story, just hearing that type of stuff around the natural health field, is just powerful in and of itself. So for him to know all of the things that he knows to help people, for him to suddenly be surprised with a patient who, like you, had been a patient of his for quite a while, right?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of funny to hear he gets back and he's now calling his patients that he had to cancel.
I was one of them.
That's
I
the
was
part I
at
like.
Thursday, 7:30 in the morning. But
You
but
call.
truly, like, I'm so grateful for that cancellation. And I truly am so grateful that he saw enough of a change in this one patient that he was willing to go and meet with the scientists, to go and meet and try to understand. Um, why it works, why it does what it does, and why it's different than just formulating a supplement, why it's different than a supplement, and I will always be grateful that he took that jump and that chance to do that, because it has literally flipped my life around for the positive because he was willing to do that.
Hmm. And so tell us what happened when you started taking AXIO.
So I started taking AXIO when he called me and told me about it. Um, I honestly didn't care at this point. I'd been working with him long enough that I'm like, okay, whatever, just give me whatever, let me try it.
Because
And
you were taking how many supplements prior?
oh, yes. So I actually, before I was taking 47 supplements a day to function, 47 supplements. And if I missed one day, it was, you could completely tell that I missed one of the supplements. And I took those supplements. A lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're crazy." And some people might think supplements are expensive urine, right? They literally, those supplements, when I took those supplements, they allowed me to stay off like drugs, medical drugs, and allowed me to at least put something in my body that could help it. And even though, and I call them band-aids, I call supplements band-aids because they feed your body what it needs, but that's it, you know. And uh so when I started activating, um, this big word that we all use, activation, and I didn't even know about it until Dr. Brimhall started talking about it, right? But you know, when I started taking AXIO, by the third day, I actually was staying awake all day. It blew my mind how I was able to stay awake all day for the first time in, I want to even say even maybe a year, like of struggling where I could stay awake and not struggle. Whereas before I was trying to stay awake, struggling because I had small kids. And now I was staying awake and my brain, it was almost like my brain was waking up in a different way that I've never felt before.
And,
So
and you didn't start taking the NRF2 right away.
no, no, no. I did start taking the NRF2 as well. That's the only two products we had at the time was
Okay.
NRF2 and the AXIO. So I did take both of them, and I took the Protandim NRF2 um really because I saw the science behind it, and for me it was just a no-brainer. Whether it helped me or didn't help me, it was just a no-brainer for me to take it. But I probably took the Axio for the first week by itself. And then when I got the Nerf 2 and a NRF2, I don't know why that's so difficult for me to say. The Nerf 2, when I started taking that, when I got that in the mail, I then added it with the Axio.
Okay. Yeah, I thought there was a little bit of a delay before you
Yeah.
had them both. Um, and I agree with you. When you can see that you can reduce inflammation, what is it, 40%, 30% in 30 days?
30%,
30% in 30 days.
40%, sorry,
Yes, I was
40%.
like, I think it's 40% in 30 days.
40%. Yep.
Um, that's just wild, like consistently across the board that one supplement would do that. And what's funny for me is listening to the meeting that we were in the other night. Like no one talked about the ABC primetime special video. But for me, I was like, I don't know how many people introduced me to the ABC primetime special video. And then I was like, yeah, I don't get it. And then when I met Dr. Brett and he started explaining to me like the activating the genes, like we're basically taking all of these foods and it's turning off genes and then we're having inflammation. And when we can activate that, then it was like, that's what that ABC primetime video was telling me the whole time. And I just never got it.
That's okay. That's okay.
It was like it's just over my head, right? Um, okay, so then the story continues because more products come out, right?
Right.
The liquid collagen is that the next product? Or
So,
did you get into
well,
the
so
probio or
the next product that came out, we had the Nerf one that came out.
yes.
And that really goes in and helps with the mitochondria, helps to go in and repair the mitochondria within your system. And I started taking that one as well because it was a no-brainer. And with all the inflammation that had happened with my body, and a lot of people don't know as well, is I actually had melanoma as well. And I also had, thankfully, a breast lump that happened to be benign. It was a 1% chance of being benign. And mine was the first lump my surgeon removed out of the last 500 that actually came back benign. And so it was so significant that I'm known as the special case in Mexico, and um, my doctor down there, he actually started introducing and sharing our flagship, the Nerf 2 product, with his patients. He started researching it because of that. Not saying that Nerf 2 helped or didn't help, but we do have studies on PubMed that have been done by universities on Nerf 2 lowering inflammation, lowering oxidative stress, and cancer. So, I mean, it just made sense to him. And so with me taking Nerf 1, it just was again like a no-brainer, like Nerf 2, like the two, with the mitochondria. And then we introduced, then the ProBio came out. Love our ProBio. I always tell people, I'm like, I don't care. You like, even if I wasn't, taking these products with this company, I've had some amazing probiotics that I've taken. And this probiotic, the way it was formulated, to me is amazing. It goes in, and I think it gets more into the gut, more into the intestines. Um, from my understanding, I'm not a scientist, but I can tell you, since taking our probiotic, I've been able to eat leafy greens and like spinach and broccoli, whereas before I wasn't able to do that. Uh, it caused havoc on my system. So love our
That's cool.
probiotic.
That's real
And
cool.
then after our probiotic, really the next one that really made a difference for me, the next step was our collagen. So I look at all of our activators as like puzzle pieces, and as we put those puzzle pieces together, I think that allows different parts of our body to continue to um, function and work the way it was meant to work. And moving forward, trying to not use words I'm not allowed to use. I'm like, and and so when our collagen actually was released, I was actually taking a collagen, a powdered collagen, fish peptide collagen, three types of collagen in this collagen I was taking. And why did I start taking a collagen 3 years before I started taking our liquid collagen within LifeVantage? It is because I had a girlfriend, bless her heart. I love her. She's like a sister to me. And I called her one day and I said, what do I do? I was going through a divorce, and I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, I look 10 years older. And she goes, oh, you're going to look 10 years older until you finish your divorce. But to help with that, just go take some collagen. So, so honestly, that's the whole reason I got on collagen. So I was like, I mean, she is really my sister. I love her. And I still laugh at that story. And I took it religiously every day for 3 years. I heard rumor we were getting a collagen and we were launching and releasing a collagen. So I finished up my collagen, left it, and I started taking our collagen once it launched. And with my collagen I was taking, yeah, it actually did make me feel a little younger. I didn't feel like, I mean, my face I could tell changed a little bit. I didn't feel so dragged down, from the stress. But once I started taking our collagen, yeah, the skin, the hair, the nails, like all that stuff people talk about, right? With collagen, I actually saw a huge change in that with our collagen within a few weeks. And it was amazing. But as I go through my journey, I'm always trying to find things that will help my brain function. Like that's kind of my goal because I want to live I want to live the most fulfilled life I can and do it in the most natural way that I can. And so I didn't think much about collagen and brain health, to be honest, until I was working with a client. And I was probably 4.5, maybe 5 months into taking the collagen. And we went and as Joe mentioned, I'm a real estate agent. So I was meeting with a client. I was showing them a property that was off market. They decided they wanted to make an offer. And it was right about the time that 2-1 buy downs were becoming popular. And that a lot of people were going that direction because of interest rates and so forth. And so he normally in the past, I would have to, and I just met with one of the lenders I work with, and we had just done a Zoom meeting so that I could have a better understanding of 2-1 buy downs and just kind of educate myself a little bit. And then after I learn something, I usually review my notes over and over and over and over again to get it into my memory because I still struggled a lot with my short-term memory, with memorization and remembering things. And so it just took me a little bit longer to get it in my long-term memory. And so I'd have to practice it over and over again. And so then my client, when I met them about 3 hours later, after I had the Zoom meeting, he said, "Hey, so can you remind me again, just briefly, 2-1 buy down? Can you give me an idea of, again, remind me how that works?" And I just started telling him how it worked. It just kind of flowed out of my mouth, no hesitation. It was like I had known it forever. And he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense." And then of course I always refer him back to the lender and say, "Hey, go ahead and still verify with the lender, to make sure I stay in my lane." I get in my car and I just sat there for a minute and I'm like, that was weird. I don't remember the last time I've ever been able to recall something like that in such detail that takes a little bit of remembering and with numbers and stuff. And I was like, okay, whatever. That was just a one-off. I just got lucky. Whatever. And then it was the next week or 2 weeks later, but it was shortly after I had a similar experience of just rolling off my tongue, something I just learned. And I finally just kind of sat back for a minute and I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, twice now. I'm like, that's not normal. That's not normal because I've been living the other way for 20 plus years. And literally when I sat there, I just kind of sat with me for a moment. And at that moment, I realized my head, there was no mud in my head. And when I say mud, like everything is just muddy in my brain, in my head. There was no clarity. I've always heard people talk about clarity, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like everything's just cloudy and muddy in my head. And it wasn't. It was literally, it was the best way I could describe it is looking into a lake that is crystal clear, and you could see at the very bottom of the floor of the lake or whatever, you're looking at. It was crystal clear. And I I didn't say much to anybody about it because I'm like, no, I'm gonna get muddy again, and um, I don't know when maybe collagen was launched, what, 3 years ago, 4 years,
2 to 3. I don't think it was
two
that
to
long.
three.
Yeah.
It's still clear. My brain is still clear. And it's like, so when you live with like a muddy brain and like you struggle with that clarity and that brain fog that people talk about, I never understood what that meant until I actually experienced that clarity. I mean, it was freaking amazing. Like it was amazing. So our collagen, I mean, and it's so much more than just, skin and hair and nails. Like our collagen by far is superior above anything that's out there on the market, in my personal opinion. And then with the studies, when you combine it with some of our other activators, because there is an activator in our collagen as well. So it actually gets in there and activates your own collagen production. And no other collagen out there can do that. And when you combine it with our other activators, it just stacks upon each other. And that's what's so fascinating about that.
Hmm. Yeah, I got involved after, I got involved with the Tri-Synergizer and then the collagen then rolled out. I think that was like 2002, maybe it was 2001, but it's been a little bit. Uh,
2021, you mean?
2021, yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah, sorry, 2001, yeah, that
No.
was college. Um, so and then the Mind Body comes out, which everything about MindBody was weight loss, GLP-1, and all the craze with that. And for myself, I didn't need to lose weight. And when I heard you in the story, what did you say? And,
Yeah, I didn't need to lose weight either at all.
and so, but then
And
when you started saying, "Oh, I'm a TBI warrior," and this even took what you had described in your collagen experience to another level. I was like, whoa, like that's
yeah,
real cool. And I started noticing other people in the groups that, that didn't have the weight loss that they were looking for specifically, but then they started talking about how they were gaining muscle and these changes that they were happening. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to try this too, right?
yeah.
But then when I found out it's no, somebody who had this TBI experience had, well, you tell us your story.
Yeah, no, no, when I found out that we were getting a GLP-1, it was my first thing I go to. I literally any product that we're getting ready to launch that I know about, go into pubmed.gov, go in, and I put in there TBI GLP-1 or TB brain injury, GLP-1 or neurons in GLP-1, just anything. Because again, my goal is to just make my brain healthier and healthier and healthier. And so that's what I did. And the research that I saw and that I read about with the neurons and GLP-1 got me excited for the GLP-1. And at the time, I was going through some other struggles in my life. And when I was it was almost to the point where I'm like, I could not get that GLP-1 fast enough because I was struggling. My sleep was off. I had a lot of stress going on. I had a lot of stuff going on with work and, family and, just so many different things were coming at me. And my anxiety was out of control and just so many different things from stresses of life. Right. And so when I started taking that GLP-1, the first thing it did, I just felt relaxed. I felt calm. I felt relaxed almost instantly. It was almost like, okay, whatever came at me, I was like, okay, no big deal. Okay, no big deal. And and I have never been high. I've never taken drugs before, but in my head, according to movies, um, I imagine it would be like someone that's high taking like a drug or something, where they're just relaxed and calm, but in a natural way. So and again, I've never done drugs, so I don't really know how that feels, but from what I've seen, just relaxation and calmness. The other thing, my sleep drastically improved. And it was almost like I could handle the things that life was throwing at me. Very calm, very collective, almost to where it's like, that's fine. That's no big deal. It'll figure itself out. I can't control it. It's no big deal. And before GLP-1, I wanted to control like every single detail. Don't get me wrong, I still like to control things, right? But just being fair here, but it allowed me to have more of a balance would probably be a good word of balancing and being able to process it too. Is it that big of a deal? Really? Let it go, Sariah. You can't control it. Move on. But the other thing it also helped me with too is I had been losing muscle for 3 years. It didn't matter how much weight I was lifting. It didn't matter how much nasty protein I was eating because I'm not a meat person. I'm not, I just don't like the taste of most meat, the flavor of it. And some of the meat doesn't do well on my digestive system, right? But everyone's like, oh, you got to get all this protein in, 140, 120, to keep muscle because you're getting older. And so I am literally like trying to stuff my face with all this protein that is nasty to me. And I don't do dairy because I have a dairy allergy. So a lot of the high protein yogurt. So it was just like, it was miserable. Like I hated eating for over a year. It was horrible, but it didn't do anything to my muscle. Nothing. Like I wasn't gaining. Most of the time I was losing. So it was just like so frustrating. I'm like, why am I lifting weights? This is a waste of my time. Like it's and started GLP-1 and I started GLP-1 last October, October 2025, 2024, oops, 2024. And I have not lost any muscle. I've continuously gained muscle. And I'm back to enjoying food, you know, and I say this carefully too. Everybody's body's going to be different. So everybody's body is going to need different nutrients, which I also found my body was absorbing my nutrients way better because I still gain muscle and my body just I learned doesn't need that crazy amount of protein. It needs a much less amount of protein, and I am still gaining the muscle. And so I learned a very, very important lesson to where it's like when your body's actually, for me, when my body was absorbing the nutrients, then then I didn't have to eat as much as I thought I had to eat, that the world or the nutritional side of the world was telling us how much we had to eat, right? So, but my PR, my personal best when it came to running improved, my weightlifting and the amount I lifted improved. And to me, that was more exciting. I get the weight loss and and I know that can be frustrating. I used to be a size 16. I used to weigh 174 pounds way back in the day. And I did the hard work to lose it. And then I do the hard work to keep it off. But I also understand the frustrations when you're doing all that work. So I do understand where our product can really, and I've seen how it's helped so many people in the weight loss industry, but our GLP-1 is so much more than weight loss. It's like, and if you're not losing weight when you're starting the product, that's okay. Your body obviously needs to repair or it needs to be able to heal or repair somewhere else first because that will eventually come, in my opinion. You gotta allow your body to heal the way it needs to heal.
Mhm. And it's cool that it's not just GLP-1 that are the benefits in that, right? Like there's like 21 different genes or something total that are being activated inside of the gut when we're just saying, hey, instead of eating a bunch of the foods that make it so that our genes don't work, right? Kind of saying, hey, keep eating this food and keep eating this food and keep eating this food because the food companies make more money when we keep eating their foods. And then it's, giving us the problems. So then to see that, you're you're creating all of these new genes that are working for you instead of working against you because they're not working right, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other thing that it's the power of how it, when you read up on some of the studies that they've done, and it's still in the workings, right? But the studies that I have read up on and looked at, how it works with the neurons in the brain and how, you know, there's that little research that they've done where GLP-1 helps with those neurons in the brain, and it helps to go in there and repair those neurons. Um and that's huge for people. And I'm not saying that's going to be true for everybody, right? But if there's a potential where that can help people, then why not, right? If there's something out there that can help people, then why not? When it comes to the brain, I always go back to the brain. Always go back to the brain.
Uh, I got started on the journey learning about Dr. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like the more I just kept learning from Dr. Amen, and then that's how I ended up into the applied neurology side of it is same reason. Like I just came to the same conclusion that you just said. Like, how do I just keep taking better and better care of my brain? right?
Yeah.
So I love that. Um, if people want to get a hold of you, do you want me to put contact information for you below this video or
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay,
I'll send
where's a good place for people to contact you?
You know what? They can either email me Sariah, Sariah dot Crandall, Crandall at gmail.com. And if they want to contact me that way, they can also call me if they want, 480-215-1515 as well.
Cool.
So
Cool, cool. And there'll be links for the products below the video, or get in touch with Sariah if she shares this video with you, to get some of the products, or if you want to learn more about the products specifically. Um, that'd be awesome. I didn't set this up to do a presentation for anybody about the products. I just really wanted to share your story and have you talk about it. So thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it.
thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me share part of my story. Because if it can just help one person, you know, that makes a difference.
There's too many people that have TBIs and are dealing with struggles um, in our world today. So I appreciate you for being confident and bold and sharing your story.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Mhm.